Hey everybody, Neil Thompson, founder of Teach the Geek here. I work with technical professionals so they can present more effectively, especially in front of non-technical audiences. And you can learn more about that at teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. And as always, remember to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel as every bit helps. Have you ever considered becoming a host of a podcast to practice your public speaking skills? Well, it's actually pretty useful. As you may know, in addition to this YouTube channel, I also have a podcast and I put out an episode once a week. I've been doing so for a few years now, and I can say that from the beginning when I started to now, my speaking skills have gotten way better. And here's a few reasons why. Number one, it forces me, well, one thing I should say about my podcast is it's interview style. So I interview people with technical backgrounds about their public speaking journeys. So number one, it forces me to actively listen to people. I can't just talk. I actually have to listen to what the person is saying. And oftentimes what that does, it'll inform what my next question is. A lot of times I'll have questions beforehand that I prepared, but I go off script so often these days. It's just like, it's not even funny. And it's just based on what the person that I'm interviewing is saying. And because oftentimes I'll have follow-up questions to whatever they said, but to have those follow-up questions, it's really necessary for you to actively listen, not just listen to be able to speak next. You don't want that type of interaction because it's not as interesting. And not only that, but the guest may very well think, did this person even listen to my answer? They just basically just asked me a question, just went on to the next question, and that next question may have had nothing to do with what I had previously said. So definitely be an active listener. Number two, what being a podcast host does is it forces you to react on the spot. It kind of relates to the first one because when you're actively listening, now you're going off script from your prepared questions and you're asking questions that you weren't prepared to ask. And what that does, it also helps you just be able to just have these conversations that are more organic and more authentic with these guests. Just being able to come up with questions based on what they've already said. It really forces you to be in the moment and just and ask those type of questions. Impromptu speaking, and that can be very challenging for some because they think that they'll do a lot better job if they just ask the questions that they prepared and don't go off script. But really, the most interesting parts of conversations, oftentimes, at least for me, have come from those parts of the interview that were not scripted or I wasn't prepared to ask about. So impromptu speaking, you definitely get a lot of that if you host your own podcast, interview style anyway. And then number three, what's number three? Oh, right. I had them written down. I was having trouble reading my own writing. Number three is that you get consistent practice. I mentioned that I put out an episode every week. So depending on whatever your cadence is, you get an opportunity to get better every week, every other week, every month, however often you put out podcast episodes. Hopefully it's not a one-time thing. With podcasts, a lot of times people get frustrated with the work that's required to put out a podcast, and they may stop doing it after a few episodes. But if you're consistent with it, you will see that over time you get better at the impromptu speaking. You get better at asking questions that you weren't prepared to ask. You get better at the active listening. You improve overall. And you'll see that even when you are not recording your podcast and you're just speaking to people outside, giving presentations in person, doing virtual presentations, you'll just see that you're a lot better at just the whole speaking process. And it all starts with or can start anyway, with hosting your own podcast. And starting the whole process of hosting your podcast isn't as difficult as you may think. I use Spotify for podcasters, formerly anchor.fm, and it's free. And you're able to upload episodes very easily and write show notes very easily. It's a very streamlined process. And I do that once a week. And I've been doing it for years and I've gotten a lot better at just speaking generally. So give it a shot. Let me know how it works out. So just to recap, number one, what being a host of a podcast does is it helps you with your active listening, really tuning into what people are saying so that you know what to say next or what makes sense to say next. Number two, it helps you with your impromptu speaking, that type of speaking that you weren't prepared to do. And then number three, it helps with just being consistent. And with the consistency, you get better over time. hopefully that helps. Again, my name is Neil Thompson. I'm the founder of Teach the Geek. I work with technical professionals so they can present more effectively, especially in front of non-technical audiences. And you can learn more about that at teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. And as always, remember to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel, as every bit helps. Thanks. Have a great day.